Sachdev, my younger brother, is here. And Tony and I are 4 years apart. Yes, Sunil Sachdev is here. Yes, at home. So Sunil is my younger brother, 4 years apart. And Sunil began his career with Usha Sales. And he was selling pistons. And one day he wanted to work with the world's best advertising company, according to him, which was Rediffusion. So he called the chairman of the company, Arun Nanda, on the phone, and Mr. Arun Nanda, my name is Sunil Sachdev, I sell pistons and I want to work for you. He said, who the hell are you? So then it kind of just connected one to the other, and he managed to sell him the idea that I want to work for you. And this is for all those guys who are not placed. The best advertising company in the country which he wanted to join. He called the founder and the chairman of that company and told him about himself. And he said, why should I hire you? So then he talked to him, whatever, he can share that. And he called him for an interview. They gave him a tough time. They were first trying to ask him all questions around quantitative stuff, which is something he didn't enjoy, right? He doesn't enjoy all this, but he has the creative dimension. So when they asked him all the questions, there is this IIM Kolkata co-founder, Ajit Balakrishnan, who founded Rediff.com later. When Ajit and all were trying to quiz him with all kinds of tough questions, because with all their IIM background, they were saying, who is this Pune MBA with all this creative sort of spirit behind him? So then he responded in a way that they made him do several things, and then they hired him in Rediffusion. He went to work there, created some brilliant work in Rediffusion. And one day he decided that now I must become an employer rather than an employee. And those days he was staying with me in Delhi. He had moved to Delhi and he wanted to take responsibility. So he created his company along with his old boss and close friend, Prasad Subramaniam. So Prasad and Sunil co-created Capital Advertising. And so they started in an apartment in one of the Sukhdev Vihar. And then, of course, this company went on to do one thing with the other. And they both bought apartments in the same building in Beverly. So Prasad and Rani are on the 5th floor, and Sunil and Devika are on the 6th floor. So they are like brothers. And this is not only because all of us love gunpowder chutney and reading the Hindu and drinking filter coffee. This is not only because of that attraction, but because I think Sunil has got that fire, and Prasad has got that calmness. So the combination works well. So Prasad is not here. And Sunil is going to talk about the story about the Veer Jawan campaign that they did and something more than that. So I'll introduce him to you. And then I'm going to go upstairs and finish my meeting with CII and come join and listen from the back.
Okay. One of you needs to help me and make sure that this thing operates, okay? Hello? No, it's okay. I'll tell you what we'll do. We've sort of created in this agency called Capital that Anil spoke of. This agency became part of a global network called Publicis about 5.5 years ago. And about 2.5 years ago, we sort of merged with them and created a unit called Publicis Capital. If some of you know something about advertising, Publicis is one of the largest networks in the world, along with WPP and Omnicom. And we've been sort of kicked upstairs. We are a non-executive chairman of the company, which means essentially I have nothing to do in the company now. I go doing, meeting young people like you and sort of having some fun with my life. This is what I'm doing right now. Let me show you a few ads that we've created in this agency called Capital. And then we'll actually sort of get started with the story that I want to share with you, okay? Prashant, if you can just help me, let's play. Should we reduce the brightness? Is this image clear? Not very clear, no? Oh God.
Horsepower engine with 5-speed auto transmission. Прибор тепловизионного ночного видения.
Thermal night vision.
Высокий уровень защиты башни.
Superior load protection.
Продолжать и продолжать.
And the general says he could go on and on. कितना देती है? स्कूल का कितना है?
For a country obsessed with mileage, Maruti Suzuki makes India's most fuel-efficient car.
ये है NASA's most ambitious project ever. Juno, the spacecraft on a 5-year mission to discover Jupiter's secrets. Juno's scientific payload includes a color camera that will give the world the first ultra-wavelength microwave radiometer. In addition, it also has specially designed no-camera please ultra-high-speed engines that will take it to Jupiter in just 1 year. Any questions? Yes. कितना देती है?
For a country obsessed with mileage, Maruti Suzuki makes India's most fuel-efficient cars.
Sir, may I present to you the super luxury yacht, the Nefertiti. Apart from all the luxuries, it has 6 luxury suites, 3 kitchens, a mini golf course, a 3D theatre, 2 ballrooms, and a door-to-door. It has a top speed of 25 knots. कितना देती है?
For a country obsessed with mileage, Maruti Suzuki makes India's most fuel-efficient cars.
The new 16x4 Hypertech entrance from Maruti. More power than you can ever imagine. The new 16x4 Hypertech entrance from Maruti. More power than you can ever imagine. The new 16x4 Hypertech entrance from Maruti. More power than you could ever imagine.
You want to go there and see? No, forgive me.
India comes home in a Maruti Suzuki. Bring your Maruti Suzuki only to the Maruti Suzuki service center.
Maruti Suzuki, India's most fuel-efficient cars.
Okay, we'll keep it at this. This is just a sample of some of the work that we've done. Did you guys enjoy that? A lot of the work was done for Maruti. And actually this entire story that I'm going to share with you, it sort of culminates with this acquisition of this business, which became the largest business for this company. So basically this story begins in the summer of 1999. Some of you must have been in your early teens, and some of you must have not even been in your teens in 1999. Oh, wait. So India was unfortunately at war with Pakistan. Do you remember the Kargil conflict? Okay, and I remember Prasad and I, my partner and I, we were boarding the train to Chandigarh, and we were taking the early morning Shatabdi from New Delhi station. And after our Vada Sambar on the platform, we got into the train, we picked up the latest issue of the India Today. And as we opened the issue of India Today, the entire issue was full of pictures of, images of the soldiers, bodies being brought back home, wrapped in the tricolor. We all have a special connection with the army in this country, right? We all do. In spite of all the recent scams, etc., the army is still an institution that you sort of look up to and you have great respect for. And for me, the connection was even stronger because my dad was part of the army, my brother was in the army, both my brother-in-laws were in the army, I had friends who had grown up with who had joined the army. So coming from a typical sort of Fauji background, that those images meant even sort of, it meant a lot for everybody, but for me it sort of had even a greater sort of impact. And remember, this is the first war that was being actually broadcast live into our, into our living rooms and into our bedrooms. Because the earlier conflicts with Pakistan, of course in 47, then in 65 and in 71, the only source of information you had was the All India Radio. So here, but somebody like Barkha Dutt earned her legendary status, as a journalist, as a television journalist, when she visited the front. And you remember some of the stories she carried about that young Captain Vikram Batra, who said, "Ye dil mange more," famous Pepsi campaign. You remember all that, right? So because of that, the whole country was emotionally surcharged. So it was a fairly traumatic time for everybody to see, your bodies of your brave soldiers being sort of brought home. And I was very moved, so I turned to my partner and I said, "Listen, Prasad, we need to do something with our talent." And I was aware of something called an Army Welfare Fund, okay, where this money is raised in the Army Welfare Fund for the families of the brave soldiers. But typically in any year, if you were to actually ever look at how much money the fund had, invariably it had very little sort of money in the fund, okay, very little money. I was aware of that also. So I said, "Prasad, let's try and raise money." There's another fund called the National Defense Fund, which is managed by the Prime Minister's office, the PMO's office. But those funds, they're meant for the families of the brave soldiers, but how much of those sort of funds actually get allocated to those families is anybody's sort of guess. I know that the Army Welfare Fund, all the funds that are in the fund actually go to the families of the soldiers. So I said, "Let's raise money for this." And he said, "Yeah, it's a great idea." And we were still completely moved, and the train had now reached Chandigarh. And just before we got out of the train, I turned around and I looked at him and I said, "Prasad, let's raise 200 crores. Now, for some of you, 200 crores probably isn't a great deal of money. It's still a lot of money, but we grew up in a time when Parle's, when Ramesh Chauhan sold the Thumbs Up brand to Coke, he sold it for 200 crores. It was on every newspaper in the country as main headline news, right? When Aniljeet Singh sold Max Touch in Bombay for 500 crores, he was on the cover of every business magazine. So in 1999, without the internet, to suddenly throw a figure like 200 crores, the reason why I threw that figure at Prasad was because that was the extent of sort of, the intensity of the emotion. I thought that anything less than that would not be doing justice to, we must raise that. But it was a crazy figure to throw at him. And he looked at me, and over the years, he started to sort of trust my instincts. So he said, "Yeah, why not? Let's collect 200 crores. So we were like, we got off, went for a client meeting, got back in the night, back to Delhi. And the next morning, we came to the office. And we wanted to brief our two creative partners, Nitin Berry and Parshu Narayan. And suddenly discovered that Parshu's dad had been hospitalized with a serious illness the previous evening. So he was in the hospital, only Nitin was there. Nitin was the senior creative partner, but Nitin was not a writer, he was more an art director. But he was still, he was extremely gifted. So we said, listen, how do we do this? We want to raise money for this, and we want to do a great campaign. He said, Parshu is out of action. I said, doesn't matter, you're here, and you're the man on the sort of spot. Why don't you grab this opportunity? And I started to brief him, and I started telling him that, look, you need to do something which is extremely sort of emotional and strong emotional, because one of the things I felt was that while we respect the army in this country, right, but you had to strike while the iron was hot. How many times today, how often are we moved when we read about a small news item, it says, such and such brave soldier has laid his life, in Kashmir. It's just become a news item, unfortunately. And I knew that because the entire country was emotionally surcharged, and that war was being telecast, that was the opportunity that we had to grab. And Nitin was uncomfortable with the brief because he thought that were we being emotionally exploitative? Were we sort of milking the countrymen when, I said, what the hell? We all owe a debt to the army. How are we being emotionally exploitative? This is the time to sort of make sure that people dig deep into their pockets and come up with the best that they can for the families of the brave soldiers. So to me, I had absolutely no doubt in my mind that we were not being emotionally exploitative. Anyway, he started work on it, and we had our office used to be out of Sarvapre Vihar in a largish koti, and we were in the ground floor. And I remember Nitin sort of working virtually the whole day, toiling without Parshu being there with him. He was toiling, and he kept trying to sort of do something. And he had a ponytail, he was unshaven, and he had this large, sort of expressive eyes, a mischievous smile. But none of that was visible that day because he was sort of really working hard and churning in his, because this was an extremely important brief for him. And he kept writing something on a piece of paper and then crumpling it and throwing it into the bin because he wasn't happy. Anyway, by the end of the day, when Prasad and I were sort of about to go home, he caught hold of us and he said, listen, Prasad and Sunil, I have something. I have a strange ad. So he said, will you sit down? I want to present this strange ad to you. He said, listen, this ad is neither prose nor is it poetry. It's a strange combination of lines that have popped into my head. Why don't you guys react to those lines? So we sat and we read the lines. And then we reread the lines. And we realized that those were extremely powerful lines. And we knew that Nitin had done his job now. And it was for Prasad and me to take that great idea to our countrymen. Okay? Those lines were extremely moving. I'll come to that in a bit because I have to sort of share the whole story with you. The next morning, Prasad and I got to the office and we were now two people on a mission. We were completely obsessive. And we said, listen, the biggest challenge here is not to get the creative product produced in time, but the biggest challenge now is to convince somebody, either in the army or in the Ministry of Defense, to put a mechanism in place where all the funds can be collected, right? And how do you do that when the country is at war? When every bureaucrat was involved, can you imagine what and this was a Friday, I remember, and Friday morning, but I said, listen, we have no choice. We have to start calling somebody. So I told the Secretary Surekha to call up the Ministry of Defense, and I said, ask for the Secretary's office. Secretary, as you know, in a ministry is the most senior bureaucrat, right? I was told that he was not in the office, he was not available. Then I said, who's the person there? He said, look, the Joint Secretary. I said, can you connect to his office? So the call was connected to his office, and his PA came on the line. And you know what happens with PAs and bureaucrats? There is no PA who will put through a call. They said, what is this about? So I said, listen, we are trying to raise some money for the Army Welfare Fund. We need to put a mechanism in place. Sort of, they thought this was just some crank call. So they kept saying, listen, you call the Additional Secretary's office. You call the Additional Secretary, so they gave me a number. Then I called the Additional Secretary's office. And the same thing, they kept passing the buck. And finally, there was nobody who came on the line, and it was extremely frustrating, and we'd already spent a lot of time on the phone. But we were two people on a mission, and we were not going to give up. So I told Prasad, why don't we call the PMO's office? He looked at me, he said, call the PMO. He said, why not? Let's call the PMO's office. So we called the PMO's office. And the same thing happened. We kept trying to speak to one PA after the other, and nobody was entertaining us. Finally, I was getting so desperate. And one of the PAs that I was talking to, he seemed like a little more patient person, a little more kind in his tone of voice. So I pleaded with him. I said, listen, we're getting the largest corporates in this country to sponsor a campaign. Please, please help me put a mechanism in place. He said, Mr. Sachdeva, look, you're wasting your time calling the PMO's office. The only people who can help you right now is the Ministry of Defense, right? So you have to call the Ministry of Defense, and look, the secretary is not in the office. You speak to the Joint Secretary, Arun Joshi. That's the person you need to speak to. He's the one who will help you put this mechanism in place. So now I had a name, and now I knew that this was the person who could sort of, deliver the goods for us. So we called the Ministry of Defense again, and we spoke to the PA. And this time I told the PA, listen, I've just spoken to the PM's office. And I suddenly threw those magic words at him, and I said, listen, we're going to raise 200 crores of funds. And you have to help me connect the call to Mr. Joshi. He was still not sure. I said, listen, if you don't connect this call, then I'm going to still run this campaign in the next few days. And I'm going to start collecting the money in my personal account. If you don't help me put a mechanism in place. It was just a combination of desperation and maybe at some level some sincerity that this person was moved, and he said, okay, I'm going to connect the call. And suddenly the Joint Secretary was connected. And he came on the line, and he was obviously a little curt with me, and he said, what is this about 200 crores? So I sort of introduced myself, and I introduced my company's credentials to him quickly on the phone. And I said, we want to run this campaign. And he said, he was suspicious. He said, is this call to tell me that when we are at war right now with Pakistan, you are trying to raise money for your agency? Run an advertising campaign and raise money? So I said, I was horrified by that question. I said, no, we're not trying to earn any money for our agency. This is a campaign that we want to do pro bono. And we're going to produce this campaign at our cost. We will find the sponsors. We don't want the ministry or the army to spend even a single rupee. We'll run this campaign, and we just want a mechanism to be put in place so that the funds can be channelized to that mechanism. Again, there must have been the combination of desperation and some level, some sincerity, and this person said, all right, why don't you come and see me at 4:30? We were thrilled. We now had an appointment with the Joint Secretary. So both Prasad and I arrived at the Ministry of Defense. We were ushered into those haloed corridors of the Ministry of Defense. And as you walked to the Joint Secretary's office, on the corridor, you saw those photographs of all those Paramveer Chakra, the soldiers would run from 1947, all those images. And my God, even now when you think of all those images in those corridors, and you get goosebumps, all those brave young people who had laid their lives for this country. So we were ushered into his room, and he was obviously completely preoccupied, and he said, just show me what have you got. So he didn't, no preamble, no spiel, nothing. We had done a few more ads, but the centerpiece of our work was still those lines that Nitin Berry had written, which he was unsure of, that strange poetry, stroke, prose that he had written, right? And this guy, the Joint Secretary, looked at my face, and I must tell you that I had started to cry. Those lines, even today those lines are so powerful. And he was extremely moved, short of standing up and actually saluting. He was sort of completely, moved into action. He said, give me a minute. And he called the army chief in our presence. And he says, I have this agency in front of me, and they presented a campaign to me to raise funds for the Army Welfare Fund, and I think it's a brilliant idea. Can you depute somebody in your team to meet this agency? And we were looking at him. He was talking to the army chief. We were at war, and I didn't believe this was happening to us. On Friday evening, and then he puts the phone down. He said, listen, the army headquarters are going to get in touch with you, so good luck. That was the end of the meeting. Then over the weekend, we realized that it was that weekend, Abdul Sattar, the Pakistan's foreign minister, was coming to India with some of the bodies of the soldiers that were recovered on the other side of the border, on their side of the border, right? And he was bringing those bodies back home. So it was a crazy week for both the Ministry of Defense and the Ministry of External Affairs and the PMO's office. And on a crazy weekend like that, on a Friday evening, we had walked into the Joint Secretary's office. The army chief had been spoken to, and on Monday morning, I get a call from General Datta from Sena Bhavan. He said, Mr. Sachdeva, can you come and meet me and General S.S. Grewal at 4 o'clock this afternoon? And General Grewal turned out to, because I quickly called my brother and I said, listen, we got a call from, Sena Bhavan. Who's this General Grewal and General Lata? He said, by the way, General Grewal is one of the most decorated soldiers in the Indian Army. 5 feet 4 inches, but many, many feet taller in his bravery. He's one of the most awarded, generals in the Indian Army. He said he's a brilliant soldier. He said, good luck with your presentation. So we arrived at Sena Bhavan at 4 o'clock and we made the same presentation to him. And we could see that both the generals were extremely moved by the idea. But General Grewal, who had this piercing look in his eyes, he turned on, he said, I have only one question for you. He said, we are a very proud army. We can't be seen as spending money to raise money for a brave dead. He said, we have a proud tradition. You can't, the world can't see that the army is spending money to raise money, right? So my partner was quick on his feet and responding. He said, General Sahab, no, that's not how it will be seen. We will make it very clear that this campaign, entire campaign is sponsored by somebody else, one of the leading corporates. And it won't be seen as something that the army is spending money, right? The moment he heard that, he was reassured. And he said, so we said, we now need you to give us a letter so that we can approach the media houses and everybody to run this campaign. We waited for another 15 minutes. General Datta gave us a letter after those 15 minutes. And the letter said that Capital Advertising has been sort of authorized to collect funds on behalf of the Indian Army for the Army Welfare Fund. Okay, to whomsoever it may concern, and this letter was given to us. Armed with that letter, we arrived back in the office, and that was like the whole agency now knew this was for real. That now this letter had also been got, and those days there was no internet, so we made the print material, and on fax machines, we started to send out these faxes to all the newspapers and magazines. We said, let's try and get as many newspapers and magazines to run this campaign free, right? We knew that the larger newspapers and magazines may not run the campaign free, but they'll give us a huge discount on the card rate. And then we said, we'll find the sponsors for that. Obviously we couldn't have funded that release money. The production cost was ours, but we couldn't afford the release from our pockets. So we sent out all these faxes to all the newspapers and magazines. By the way, is this getting too long, the story? You better be, you're all awake? Okay, lovely. Because the story will go on for some time, okay? So, the next afternoon, we got a fax as a response from the Ranchi Express, a small obscure paper from the east of India, saying it would be a privilege for us to carry this campaign free of cost. Now it was such a tiny paper, this was like a turbocharge. We knew that there was one newspaper in this country willing to run this campaign free of cost. And that was the turbocharge the agency needed. After that, people were just there was no day and night, and everybody was so thrilled with that, that one newspaper, Ranchi Express, saying that we are willing to run your campaign free of cost. Then, of course, many more newspapers in the next couple of days came. We got a few of our clients to sponsor the ads in the newspaper, and the campaign started in print. But we knew that the big breakthrough would only happen if we can get this campaign on air on television, right? Because that's the power of the audiovisual medium. You've seen all those films, you can see the power of those films. Normally it takes 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, sometimes 10 weeks to produce a television commercial. For us, it was a matter of days, because Bill Clinton had already sort of made these calls to the Nawaz Sharif and said, look, all this needs to stop now. This can't be escalated. Both of you are nuclear powers. So we knew that it was just a matter of time before the war may be over, and we had to still get the campaign on television. And we needed a sponsor for television. So the first company that popped into my head that I wanted to approach to support us in this campaign was Maruti. Now, Maruti was a joint venture between Suzuki and the government of India, but perceptually Maruti is more Indian, right? It's more Indian. So we said, look, there's a nice fit, and automotive companies spend huge sums of money. So we said, listen, let's talk to Maruti. So I did the same number. I said, let's ask for the MD's office. Of course, he didn't come on the line. I said, let me get the marketing director's office. Nobody came on the line. I said, get me the brand manager's office. Nobody came on the line. finally there was one young product executive called Madhusudan, right? And I introduced myself. Of course, he had never heard the name of our agency called Capital. I told him that I used to head the Rediffusion office in Delhi. Now, Rediff was their incumbent agency, one of the two incumbent agencies, and that was the agency that had been handling the Maruti business since its inception. So the moment I told him that I used to head the Rediff office in Delhi, he said, okay, I'm not talking to anybody. There's somebody, who's from the industry. So and he's a young product executive. So he said, the least I can do is to meet this, the former branch head of Rediffusion, and I'll meet him. So he said, okay, come over to the office. So I went, Prasad and I went, armed with that VHS tape. All we did was, we took the same lines, we took some still images, put some music to it, and we said, this is our television commercial. There's nothing more fancy, it's just the power of the idea. And we played the tape for him. This young man was very, very moved. He said, can you leave the tape with me and we'll get back to you? He said, okay. He apparently then went and showed the tape to the marketing head, who loved it, who then decided to go to the MD's office. MD was Jagdish Khattar. He went into Khattar's office and said, sir, we want you to see this, commercial. And apparently, from what we've heard, Mr. Khattar is supposed to have seen the commercial, and he says, give me the tape. He took the tape, apparently, and he stormed into the Doordarshan Director General's office. They were both batchmates from IAS, batchmates. And there was some board meeting happening in Doordarshan. He's supposed to have stormed into the board meeting, called that person by his first name, and probably sort of even abused him and said, listen, what the hell are you doing wasting everybody's time? Go put this tape, show it to your colleagues. And the DG then saw that stuff and he told now run this campaign free on Doordarshan. The guy said, okay, Jagdish, I'll run this campaign free on Doordarshan. He just bullied him into this because he was apparently so moved with this entire stuff. But there's another little story about that which I'll right in the end I'll share with you. Anyway, we were told, okay, we will run this campaign on television and we'll run it on all the channels in this country. And they asked us, what will be your commercial terms? Again, we were shocked. We said, what commercial terms? This guy's name is Arun Malhotra. He said, Arun, we are here not to make money out of this opportunity. This is just to sort of tell you that we want to do something, for the cause right now. So we'll produce this. All you do is please release this and make sure that you get damn good exposure to this campaign. He said, no, not a problem. For the next 3 weeks, this campaign ran on every channel in the country, okay? And it created obviously a lot of impact. All kinds of stories. Apparently, the Pakistan High Commissioner, because this campaign also ran on BBC, he's supposed to go on and met the people in BBC in London and said, you're supposed to be neutral observers. You're a neutral umpire. How come you're running this campaign on BBC? So by the time BBC yanked this campaign off BBC, the campaign had got enough exposure on BBC. All kinds of stories. There are stories about Prasad was invited to speak at Lady Shriram College. The principal called up, found out that this is the name of the agency that created this campaign. He said, listen, we want our students to hear this story, from you. So Prasad went for that, and apparently in the hall in LSR, where he made the presentation, not only every seat was taken, the aisles were packed. And there were people outside that place, and he got such a standing ovation. And after that thing, everybody went around, and whatever money they could collect in the hall, they put that money and said, listen, this is our contribution to the Veer Jawan Fund. The editor and owner of Pudari, a small newspaper from Kolhapur, he called to say, I'm very moved and I'm running this campaign and I'm getting this. I've also kept a donation in a drop box. And people are coming and putting this money in this, and I think I'm collecting fairly decent sums of money. So Prasad said, okay, listen, tell your donors that you can even get income tax, relief from this. He says, sir, people are coming putting 10 rupees in the hundi. What income tax relief are you talking? But there is a queue of people, small time traders, they're coming and putting. And you know how much that man collected in that one town in Kolhapur? He collected 1.2 crores. And then he said, sir, I want to come and give personally the check to the army. So we arranged a meeting with General Datta for him and personally come and give the check of 1.2 crores. This is the power. I think now I'm going to show you the campaign. I hope that everything works. Just see the films. You want to know how much this campaign collected? We collected 400 crores for the army. Thank you. Thank you. It's been 13 years, but every time I see this campaign, I still. I was telling you that other story on Maruti. Arun Malhotra, who is the marketing head, apparently the MD wanted to play the devil's advocate. He said, Arun, why do you think this campaign will work? He said, sir, it's a very moving campaign. He said, why do you think it will work? He said, sir, I can't predict about others, but I'll tell you something. I was planning to send a check to the National Defense Fund for one day's salary, to donate 1 day's salary. He said, when I saw this film, I cut that check and I said, 1 month's salary. He said, this is what I did. It moved me to change my decision from 1 day to 1 month. He said, I can't speak for others, but this is what it did to me. That's all the MD wanted to hear. And he knew that, the campaign works. So, it was just a crazy thing, in a train journey. We threw a figure at 200 crores to each other. And we actually managed to raise 400 crores. Thank you.
When Maruti was looking for an agency for doing their corporate advertising many years later, so they called Sunil and Prasad and said, would you consider being our agency? So they got into the Maruti account. When they did this, of course, they had no knowledge or no idea that one day they will get that as well. But this is what actually happened. So I think it's, so that's what actually happened. But it's it's also time to ask Q&A to Sunil. So, yeah, to take questions.
Which ultimately would relate to you. My father was working in Parvanu with the auto ancillary company at that point of time when Kargil war happened, and his boss was an ex-army captain, VRS. So, a lot of time, again, he would talk about army. We had good, friendly relationships with them. So he would talk about army. There were another, I remember Captain Bhatia, again, in the same company at the GM level. So there was always certain buzz about army. And when it happened, one day dad comes back and said, यार आज एक ऐसा notice आया था, he got to know that Delhi में कुछ बंदे हैं and they have initiated a campaign and this and that, because and his boss was from army, so again the whole Parvanu, he got whole Parvanu behind it. He was part of CII and Rotary or Lions Club, I don't remember which club. So he got whole Parvanu and that belt behind this campaign, and I don't recall what was the amount raised from that belt, but today I know that what was the real story behind that.
Actually, you're right. There are lots of stories. My nephew tells me that when they were in Kohima, the army commander there, who was also the head of the school there, they sort of mobilized all the children to go and raise money for the Veer Jawan Fund. My nephew didn't know that time that that his sort of chacha's agency was sort of behind this campaign. But we've discovered lots of stories like this, that because finally 400 crores. You must know one thing, that even today, no pro bono effort or a campaign to raise money for a social cause anywhere in the world has raised this amount of money. This is close to $100 million. I said, now we've got very spoiled with all these scams. We talk of thousands of crores. But $100 million is still huge sums of money. And we don't know of any. So I remember when we were tying up with the foreign network and they heard this story and they saw this campaign, they said, we don't know of any campaign anywhere in the world which has run. And we've actually not, but as Anil said, that we got a reward because Maruti decided to give a lot of business, and that became the mainstay of this agency. And we got we've done as an agency reasonably well commercially. But it remains, in fact, and I think I would say it would be completely immodest on my part to try and take credit for this, because remember, every media channel, every newspaper and magazine was focused on this war. So the whole country was emotionally surcharged. All we did was we were smart enough to spot that opportunity and provide a mechanism for that emotion to be channelized. But the big work was being done by every newspaper and channel in the country, right? The whole country was emotionally surcharged. So it would be completely, but just we were smart enough to tap into that, as I said, in the telescope time frame, we were able to put that mechanism in place and channelize that emotion and create this mechanism where we did it. So it was just destiny. It had to happen. On a lighter note, I believe in Sachin was asked, how come you're not retiring? He said, Pap, main ki kare yaar, petrol khatam hi nahi honda.
Hello, sir. So during this inspirational journey,
You can call me Sunil.
during this
Don't call me Tony. As Anil introduced.
During this particular inspirational journey, what was one specific biggest challenge that you encountered, and how did you go about overcoming it?
No challenge. I told you it was a smooth. No, I can turn on and tell you that every step of it was a challenge, okay? Because for instance, from the time we got off the train and reached our office the next morning, my creative partner's dad had been hospitalized the previous night, right? My writer was not available. I had to get my creative partner, who's an art director, to write a campaign. And he wrote, probably no writer has written such, you saw that combination of prose and poetry, such brilliantly evocative lines, simple but beautiful, he's going to die for a stranger and that stranger is you. He's written some of the most powerful lines. He was inspired to do it, so I can turn and say it was a big challenge. No, but it happened. To get through to that one kind secretary in the PMO's office, or finally to get Arun Joshi, or to get him to meet us on that Friday evening. I think this was destiny playing, it had to happen. all we did was, we stayed focused on that one ball to hit. Okay, we were not thinking of the next 5 balls that are going to come at us. That one ball that was thrown at you, we had to see that ball and hit that ball. That's what he kept doing. And we didn't sort of get ahead of ourselves. Oh, now what will we do? Now who will come for the sponsor? It just, and there was obviously a great deal of sort of persistence in the sense that if the MD's office was not willing to talk and the marketing head, we were willing to go down to the product executive and still try and meet up. So there was this, obviously there was tenacity in what we did. But so you can turn on and argue that at every step there was a challenge, or you can turn on and say, listen, we were driven by the purpose at that moment, and every challenge faded, and it just sort of, all doors open for us, which is what they say. And if you try and do something with Nishkam Bhav and you want to do, then the entire cosmos conspires to make things happen and doors open for you. It actually, this is it happens.
So since the day you you made this vision about yourself to contribute to this particular fund, till the funding had taken place and mobilized and materialized everything, approximately how much time?
We did it in a matter of 3 weeks. This money had
3 weeks.
Yeah. It was just amazing. The money was just pouring in, and General Datta would call me and says, today, in the first day when he, first few days when he called me and said, listen, we've done 20 crores. And there was a journalist from the Economic Times who heard about this and had seen this campaign and heard that we'd already collected 20 crores. She wanted to come and interview us, so she came to interview us. And she did a half-page article on our agency, about the men behind the stranger, and she wrote this lovely piece on our company, right? By the time the piece came in a couple of days later, it appeared, the figure had already crossed 75 crores. So General Datta would call me and give me updates virtually every day and say, listen, we've crossed 100 crores, we've crossed 150 crores. And finally at some 375 crores, he said, listen, we're going to touch 400 crores, and we've touched, I'm sure we're touching it in the next few days. And it was just too much. It was just, that success was just sort of, money just kept pouring in.
Hardly entered our lives.
Correct.
Today, with the effect of Facebook and other social
Exactly.
huge amounts of campaigns running. But then, do you think these channels have increased the popularity of these campaigns, or they have diluted them?
No, in fact, I don't think there has been a campaign after that for specifically to raise, let's say, funds for the army. And I still believe that we should, in fact, we've been thinking about it and talking about it, but we've done nothing about it, frankly, to create a permanent sort of Veer Jawan fund, and then use all the social media, etc., and the power of the social media to see, even if it's not, even if there's no war, and even if we don't raise 400 crores, but even if a few crores keep sort of rolling into this fund, it should be something that we should try and do this, I think the time has come for us to, to actually to revive something like this. And I think with the power of social media, things have only become better. I have absolutely no doubt that, you're going to get much better sort of returns for your efforts today. After all the digital revolution today with phones and smartphones and everything else, I'm sure we can sort of tap into this. Yeah.
In 1999, you ran this campaign, and it was such a thumping success. You're so passionate about it, and then you did it. You even exceeded what you even initially thought of.
Yeah.
There have been a lot of other problems also that India has been facing. I mean, a lot of child illiteracy. There are a lot of issues.
Other issues, yeah.
Yeah, for which funds need to be raised. And sir, why did you stop your journey there? I mean, this was a big encouragement. Anyone who has got such a success could have duplicated.
It's a damn good question. Okay, it's a very good question. The journey didn't stop there. There are 2 other things, and I haven't got them. But one of these days, if you have the time, I'll come back and show you 2 other pieces of work, which ran for just a few days. One of them was in 2002. During the Gujarat riots, okay? When Gujarat was burning, I saw a little news item on NDTV, and we took that news item and we converted it into a commercial, and we got again one of our clients, Escotel, to sponsor it. It just ran for a few days, but it was again a fabulous film, okay? I'll show it to you, okay? The idea was not to raise money or anything. The idea was that we just wanted one of the sane voices when when the whole country was enraged when Gujarat was burning. We just wanted one of the sane voices to so that campaign did that. Then 2003, the World Cup, we did another campaign. Again, we got a sponsor at the last minute. Okay, so it ran only on a couple of channels, didn't get big exposure, but again, it was on national unity as a theme. Okay, and we used the mothers of Indian cricketers, Mohammad Kaif's mother, Sehwag's mother, Harbhajan's mother. Okay, and we used the mothers, to run a socially relevant theme. I'll be happy to share that also with you. So one of these days I can come back and show you those films, We continue to do that as an agency. But you're right, on the other hand, since 2004 and there have been a couple of other attempts, nowhere near in the sort of some of these more high profile cases. But every time we had an opportunity to do something, even if it was a small print ad, even if it was in our industry journal, as an agency, we kept trying to sort of do that.
So the thing is, you guys are into advertising and into media, and media is such a powerful channel to spread awareness about a cause.
Yeah.
And with the years of experience that you have with you, you also know the best practices or the best ways in which you can create publicity for something. Like for example, this campaign that you did. So there were a lot of things. Tsunami was there, and then earthquake in Bhuj in Gujarat.
During the tsunami, I remember calling Kapil Dev, okay, and asking Kapil Dev, would he partner with us in a national campaign to raise funds, the tsunami victims. Then I called Harsha Bogle, okay, and somehow it didn't happen at that point in time. It didn't happen. Which year was the tsunami? Was it 2004? 2004, I remember. Honestly, there have been many other occasions after that we have tried to do that, including for the last election, we did a campaign, and we had no political party in mind, but we had a campaign for putting the country first, right? And somebody said, okay, I'll create an opportunity to meet up with the BJP leadership team. We went and presented that campaign to the BJP leadership team. It was nearly approved, okay? And I say nearly because there were obviously many other, power blocks, and we were just somebody who did this campaign. And they were extremely keen to run this campaign as a national campaign. Because it wasn't a campaign for a political party or an agenda, it was a campaign for the country, for the young people of this country, right? But something happened to me on the last day when they were about to, and there was a meeting that had been fixed with Mr. Advani in the evening. I was sitting in the BJP headquarters and I said, listen, this is the same party that is responsible for all the chaos with the Rath Yatra and the Babri Masjid and the Gujarat. And I was full of doubts. And I said, no, I can't do this. I can't be politically aligned to either this party or that party, because I have only one party, which is this country. And I'm not. And I said, the moment you go and tie up with one political party, you're going to be dragged into politics. And I said, my whole company will be dragged into politics. But this is a campaign, you will not believe it. A few weeks ago, somebody senior from the Politburo called us because they remember the campaign. And now Mr. Modi is talking about the same developmental agenda and young people, and he goes to SRCC and he goes to FICCI and he addresses the audiences, and he's right now the talk of the town. This campaign was presented 4 years ago, right? Or 5 years ago to them. So that person remembers this campaign, and he called us a few weeks ago saying, can you come back and meet up with us, and can you bring that campaign? Now we're very clear that we're not going to go to a political party. But that's a campaign again aimed at the young people, just to say, listen, it's time to move on and you go to put the country first. How the hell can you put your party politics first? Maybe the Congress is getting jacked and maybe they're not doing a great job, but on the other, do you think the BJP is a great opposition? So somehow, you start thinking about that, you realize that none of the political parties have got their act together. What they need to do is so I'm saying, we still, in our mind, we keep thinking of sort of doing things, but as I said, there's a time and moment when everything comes together and something's happened and you don't, but there have been, as I said, there have been series of other efforts made. Some of them, as I said, not as high profile and as successful, but there was still that little thing in the agency to keep trying to do for a cause. Okay. If there are no more questions, then I'll take your leave.
I move towards this one, when I go towards the brand equity people, firstly, I had appreciation for a couple of advertising agencies, but that is certainly a different point now. And the passion which you had while doing this one, and the senseless, the ultimate belongingness for the nation, and the pride which you had, and the enthusiasm which you have taken over to take it for all the challenges. And probably once you're narrating the story, probably we all had the goosebumps in us. And thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. That's the power of the idea. Thank you.
From Sunil is that he has two sons, and my bhabhi is Devika, and they also decided that he wants to do something else in his life, so he sold stake in his company to Publicis. And then there is this apartment. There is this apartment in Gurgaon. Hemant. There is this apartment in Gurgaon, where Chinmaya Mission was holding its activities. So when this happened, and he said that I am moving on to my next phase in life. So they donated that entire apartment in Regency to Chinmaya Mission. You understand what that means in today's time. So I think, and this can be linked back to our family and to my father, who when he was earning 500 rupees a month, he would take out 50 rupees every month and give to the poor. Now remember, tomorrow when you pass out of soil, you will go and some of you will make lots of money. And some of you will do something which will truly make you say, I have now enough. Now remember at that time, when you have enough, that when you have enough, then you have to share it with all. That is the practice that I think is so important in life. And that's the last part I wanted to say, because you said what are they doing? One is to get others to raise to the power of your work, but then also whatever God has given you. So you say, why don't you also share of that? So that's the choice that this school makes, and the choice this company